The furry community can be traced all the way back to the 1980s to 90s, and over the decades it has amassed a sizable following. There seems to be a very strong stigma regarding furries online, but the vast majority of them are just normal people. They simply view this as an outlet to hang out with others sharing a common interest, while others have twisted it into a disgusting and vile dump for degeneracy. There are a number of notorious individuals who have created an everlasting and negative tie to the furry community. These include murderers, predators, zoophiles, animal abusers, which I guess the two are kind of interchangeable, and much more. In 2016, in Fullerton, California, resided the Yost family, which consisted of 5 members: mother Jennifer Yost and stepfather Christopher Yost and their 3 kids. The eldest of the children was named Caitlin. The entire family had a common interest in the furry community, and Caitlin even had her own fursona. The family even visited a number of furry-related events, including conventions. It was during her time within this community that Caitlin would meet 2 young men named Frank Felix and Joshua Acosta. At the time, Caitlin was just 17 years old, while Frank was 25 and Josh was 21. Neither Frank or Caitlin tried to hide their friendship online, causing several other members of the community to grow concerned that Caitlin was being groomed. Being that the Yost family was very close with one another and even had the same interests, Caitlin's parents would eventually learn about their daughter's relationship with these 2 adults. Caitlin's mom, Jennifer, got in between her daughter and the 2 men, demanding that they never contact her daughter ever again, and for a brief stint it seemed that everyone had moved on, but this would soon take a turn for the worse. On September 24th, 2016, Jennifer and Christopher's 6-year-old daughter dialed 911 and stated that someone had broken into their home and shot her parents dead, as well as a family friend who was visiting. When police arrived at the Yost residence, they found the bodies of Jennifer and Christopher in the master bedroom, while the family friend's body was on the couch. Additionally, investigators noticed that Caitlin was missing. Fearing that she had been kidnapped by the killers, police immediately sent out a search party. After a bit of digging, investigators stumbled upon the recent request from Jennifer for Frank and Josh to stay away from Caitlin. This led to Frank and Josh becoming the prime suspects in the investigation, and most of you probably think that the case is pretty cut and dry and the 2 men were simply angry that they were told to leave Caitlin alone. However, according to Josh's attorneys, Caitlin told him that she was being abused by Christopher. The claim went on to say that Caitlin begged Frank and Josh to help her by taking her parents' lives. However, there is another version of the story that suggests Caitlin wanted to run away and start a new life, and the 2 men believed that in order for this to happen, Caitlin's parents needed to be killed. At one point, it was even mentioned that Frank used the story that Chris was abusing Caitlin in order to sleep with her. If Caitlin refused, he was going to release this information to various people online. Ultimately, Caitlin was located and she was perfectly fine. Frank and Josh were charged with 3 counts of murder and Caitlin received no charges. On December 14th, 2018, Joshua Acosta was sentenced to 3 consecutive life sentences with no possibility of parole, as well as an extra 75 years to life. It's said that Josh was the one who actually killed the 3 people in the Yost home, while Frank assisted in obtaining a shotgun and providing transportation to the house. Defense attorneys attempted to sell the idea that Josh was easily influenced due to his autism and that Caitlin had manipulated him into killing her parents. However, this held no ground. Caitlin's claims about being abused were never verified, but she would not face any charges. And I was digging around to find out what sort of sentence Frank Felix received, but I couldn't find any update past 2018. Shawn Cre, aka Quantum Kitty, was a former Marine who was charged with felony aggravated animal cruelty in October of 2022. At the time, he was 22 years old and lived in Piney Point, Maryland with his mom. His charges revealed that he had unnatural sexual acts with numerous animals, and he was initially brought to law enforcement's attention by his neighbors. They presented some very graphic and disgusting screenshots of things that Shawn had said online. For example, in one instance, he made a post on Twitter/X that said, "A few indelible truths. Animals can consent. Zoophilia is valid and beautiful. There is absolutely nothing even remotely wrong with loving an animal as one would a human. Don't like it? Ah ha ha ha, too bad." Obviously, a lot of people did not share the same opinions as Shawn and argued with him online. Shawn would not shy away from these discussions and would just further highlight how the man's brain was. Something even worse is that there are forums dedicated to zoophiles, which is fucking crazy. And as you would expect, Shawn frequented these sites to discuss his degenerate hobby. Can you even call this a hobby? I have no idea what you even call this. There is even a podcast that is somehow still up on YouTube called Zooier Than Thou that Shawn has apparently appeared on a couple of times. Despite all of the backlash that Shawn faced on social media, he just continued to post and provoke people. In one thread that spoke about he said this: "There's nothing wrong with being a only with acting on it. Don't see what this has to do with anything." It was also revealed that he slept with a 17-year-old when he was 20. On June 13th, 2022, law enforcement acted on several search and seizure warrants put on Shawn in his residence. During the search, a copious amount of evidence proving that Shawn was partaking in animal cruelty acts and engaging in intercourse with animals was obtained. On his phone, investigators located a video recorded on March 24th, 2022, where he was stimulating a dog with his hand. Detectives also dug up a conversation that Shawn had with an unknown individual where he offered the person to have with his dog. And this is just a small bit of what investigators found. Shawn was still free at this point, and he actually started a GoFundMe in an attempt to fund his defense and combat these warrants. Needless to say, he did not get very much support. So, seeing that he was being backed into a corner, Shawn began to delete his many online accounts that may have any sort of association with his disgusting interest in animals. But he did leave up one Twitter account. On this account, he posted drawings of humanoid animals engaging in and providing updates as to what was happening to him illegally. Furthermore, he went on rants about how he was being mistreated and that it's everyone else in the world who is in the wrong. He even wrote this poem to vent: "Prodigal son of the darkness, how forthwith you have returned. Dejected seeker of love, you once again have been burned. Far too late did you realize all the faults that you had amassed. An unbearable price you now pay. You'll never escape your past. Too soon the mask slipped and a monster was all they could see. You sorrowful martyr of misery, now you will never be free. And now they will discern what truly lies inside. The passion I so long to share, the love I wish no longer to hide. The scarlet letter that stains me, to hate me is their duty. To them I seem a beast, but secretly dreams of beauty. No second chances for I, just a lamentable waste of benevolence. Too late I was to discover the compassion I had in such prevalence. Verily, it was fantastical thinking contrived by my tired mind. There is heaven for the cruel, but the devil waits for the kind. It's time I stopped dreaming and recall the lessons of old. Any hope that I have will forever and always be merely fool's gold." On February 6th, 2023, Shawn was convicted of his various crimes against animals. So Nacho Doggo's story is a pretty crazy roller coaster. Nacho was an active member of the furry community, visiting conventions and engaging in discussions on social media and various other platforms. The best place to start is probably going to be with her health conditions. Nacho took to Twitter to inform people about her declining health, specifically with her heart, which forced her into a position where she had to undergo surgery. In an attempt to raise money, Nacho's friend would set up a GoFundMe asking for donations. The donation goal was set at $25,000 US, and it was ultimately met. Nacho posted occasional updates in regards to her health and how she was feeling. Additionally, she shared some glimpses into her childhood where she was essentially homeless and had to beg for food. Due to her conditions, she had to resort to hanging around some very sketchy people. Furthermore, she talked about how her life was basically fucked from the very start. This image of poverty that she painted from her childhood will become important later on. During the donations campaign, she informed the public that she was going to go to Germany to have the procedure done since it would be cheaper. But once she arrived in Germany, she learned that she required a pacemaker and needed more money to cover the fees. This caused her to allegedly sell off all of her belongings. Then on October 26, 2020, Nacho informed everyone on her Twitter that she now had kidney issues. This would escalate, and Nacho claimed that her kidneys were on the brink of failing. This was a low point for her, as in that same tweet, she talked about being approved for assisted suicide. The very next day, an unknown individual covered the rest of the donation goal, which allowed for her to move forward with the surgery without any fear financially. And all in all, it seemed as though Nacho was in good spirits now. However, this wouldn't last long, as in December of that same year, Nacho yet again brought up the idea of assisted due to her overwhelming health issues. She claimed that she had an appointment set up for this in late January, but due to COVID, it had to be rescheduled to February. And by now, Nacho was supposedly in Germany. This tweet, which mentioned her appointment being pushed back, was the last time she was heard from publicly. It seemed like Nacho really ended her life. Furries from all over the internet began to pay their respects on social media and various forums. While most offered their condolences, others were not quite as sympathetic, as a number of individuals would bring up an account from a site that was geared towards people who had a romantic fixation on animals. The account in question was confirmed to belong to Nacho, as several internet sleuths were able to match up Nacho's tattoo to the one shown in a very explicit image involving a dog. Now, where things get very interesting is when people noticed that the last time this account was used was around mid-2021. Kiwi Farms users were able to find out that the name on the account was also the same as Nacho's real name, Rebecca. This opened up a messy rabbit hole where people pointed out some strange details in Nacho's past, specifically during the time when she claimed to have heart and kidney issues. For example, one person said, "I don't understand this at all. This person said they were on SSI, therefore they were also eligible for Medicaid. Medicaid would have covered any necessary heart surgery. They cover heart transplants if needed, FFS. If you are truly broke, ironically, you get free healthcare in the USA. People get all kinds of super expensive surgeries thanks to Medicaid every single day." Something is just really fishy about her entire story. Did she ever specify what this heart ailment was? She's an American, right? I don't think Germany just allows an American citizen to fly in for heart surgery. They changed their mind or don't have enough money for heart surgery, so they greenlight assisted suicide instead? What? Germany just started allowing assisted suicide again last year, after banning it for many years. I figure they have a backlog of Germans waiting for it, and some American flying in and getting it after a few months makes no sense. Anyone have any source for her death that's not Twitter? I don't trust furries with giant sob stories. Germany doesn't allow for suicide tourism, but Switzerland does. Zurich was where most Germans went for assisted suicide until the government ban was lifted last year. I do not believe an American citizen could just get these services in Germany. Other users found a post from her Reddit account that was posted over a week from her apparent death date. Additional details that made Nacho look like a lying thief would surface over the following days and weeks, including one person pointing out that Nacho's hospital records displayed that she had insurance when Nacho said that she didn't have any since it was so expensive. It was becoming clear that Nacho exploited the sympathy that her community showed towards her. In the end, the internet was pretty much all in agreement that Nacho had lied about virtually all of her conditions in an attempt to scam people out of their money. This was done because she wanted to immigrate to Germany, and they had a requirement where you needed at least $25,000 in your bank account, which funny enough was the same goal set in the GoFundMe. Once she obtained the money from the GoFundMe, she made up the lie about her ending her life to leave her past behind her. If you recall, towards the beginning of this entry, I said that Nacho was trying to sell this image of how she lived a tragic childhood. Well, this was also likely a lie, as people were able to dig up images of her enjoying activities including dirt bike riding, snowboarding, and even going on vacation. And let's not forget, this entire case unraveled because this lady posted a picture of her taking a dog. Nacho Doggo is one of, unfortunately, many vile people who seemingly got away with their crimes. Hypnotist Sappho is a furry content creator in her 20s, and as the name would suggest, her whole thing was hypnotizing people. This was primarily done through VR chat, Discord calls, and Twitter spaces where she would interact with her viewers. It didn't take long for people to start feeling as if Sappho was doing this for her own pleasures. She was later exposed for speaking inappropriately to an underage viewer of hers in Discord. And to make matters worse, it seemed like Sappho was trying to manipulate this minor, as they had just gone through a breakup. The minor and Sappho would then engage in some explicit roleplay in VR chat, which got Sappho an immense amount of backlash when it got leaked. Sappho's Discord server primarily consisted of people who shared the same hypnotism fetish. The server was advertised as 18+, but nevertheless, minors were able to gain access to NSFW channels, and at times it was Sappho herself who was granting access for these minors. Furthermore, Sappho was frequently engaging in very explicit conversations with underage users through her DMs. Yet again, Sappho was exposed for her disgusting acts, but this didn't seem to prevent her from continuing to share her rather unpopular opinions. At some point in her server, several members began reaching out to her asking if she was a zoophile. She attempted to avoid the questions initially, but eventually she would state that she believed animals could consent. Furthermore, she states that people with an attraction towards animals are simply misunderstood and should be allowed to be themselves. Now, this would create major uproar within her community, forcing her to make a video addressing all of the issues. The entire video is over 30 minutes long and is still available on YouTube, so to keep things from dragging out too long, Sappho admitted that she was a zoophile and compared it to homosexuals from the 60s and 70s, where they were viewed as different.
Clear the air and say that, for the record, I am a zoophile. You did not mishear that. I am a zoophile. I do not have a thing for humans. I am more attracted to dogs like German Shepherds.
Sappho stated that she didn't want to give her haters a chance at an I got you type moment, so she was going to talk about the issues on her own terms. Now, Sappho would claim that she is not romantically interested in humans, yet she was exposed earlier for having an inappropriate interaction with a minor through VR chat and DMs. So I guess humans are okay as long as they're under 18 years old. She continued to find herself as the focal point of internet drama, which led to a number of additional controversies. One of these controversies included a person getting harassed online after Sappho posted some selfies of herself with a mask on. People dug and found a person online who resembled Sappho, and they believed this person to actually be her. This person got doxxed and even received death threats. Not long after, this person came out and made a number of videos proving that she was not Sappho. On another occasion, Sappho claimed that a 14-year-old who she was close to had taken her own life after being bullied online. Sappho saw this as some twisted opportunity to turn herself into a victim and tell the world how she was hurting emotionally, which led to her drinking an excessive amount of alcohol and the like. Needless to say, many people called her out for this and she got a lot of shit for it, but turns out that this 14-year-old was actually still alive and that she simply had her phone confiscated by her parents. You would think that Sappho would be ecstatic to find out that this girl who was her friend was still alive, but instead she would attempt to prove that the account claiming to be the 14-year-old was a fake. But in the end, it was confirmed that the girl was indeed alive and nothing bad had happened. Apparently, what did happen was the girl was told by her friends and family that taking a bit of a break from Sappho would do wonders for her own mental health. So Sappho saw this as some form of betrayal and attempted to lie about this girl's death so that people would in turn show Sappho pity for losing her friend. She would never address exactly why she lied about this girl dying. Growley, aka Daniel Lamas, is a registered offender and has been in the furry community since the 90s. Daniel is known to have ties to other predators, and he also has a romantic interest in dogs. Back in 2001, Daniel and his boyfriend were arrested and charged with coercing a 14-year-old boy that they had met on the internet to have sex with them. The minor later called police on June 4th of the same year and informed them about the acts that Daniel and his boyfriend Troy committed. At the time, Troy was 32 years old and Daniel was 25. The three shared a hotel room and engaged in lewd acts where the adults also took pictures for themselves to keep and distribute. Daniel would attempt to shift all of the blame onto his boyfriend, claiming that he didn't really want to partake in these acts, but did so only because he was there. After finishing his parole in 2007, Daniel would return to his normal degenerate self by interacting with minors on various forums and sites asking for explicit images. And this wasn't a case where Daniel didn't know the ages of who he was speaking with. He outright asked these other users for their age to confirm that they were to his preference. As a requirement for Daniel after he got out of jail, he was told to help out at various furry conventions as a sort of community service. And I failed to mention that most of the sites he spoke to minors on were focused around the furry community, creating more opportunities for Daniel to act out his fantasies. On several occasions, he did attempt to meet up with teens at these conventions so that they could fulfill his desires. On July 10th, 2019, Daniel was found in possession of child and was arrested and charged but was released later that year. And despite the knowledge that Daniel is an offender, he was still allowed to be at these furry conventions, which, I don't know, sounds pretty dumb to me. Like, you're asking for this man to go out and be a weirdo. Hopefully this freak doesn't try and take this video down, since he is known to lash out at people who bring up his past. Additionally, as you saw towards the beginning of this entry, Daniel has a fursuit and it's a bit filthy. If you mention the state of his suit, he will also lash out at you. He made this twit longer back in 2016, and I'll be reading part of it. There's a certain post on a certain social media site's group that calls into play that my suit hasn't been maintained in the almost 6 years I have owned it. The comments have diverted from me not maintaining my suit into lies about my past and even conventions I have gone to where I have supposedly done unspeakable things to people. First, believe it or not, I actually do maintain my suit. So why does it look so scraggly and matted all the time, Growley, you might ask? The fur that is used isn't the best for fursuits, and to my knowledge, this fur is no longer used because of the difficulty of maintaining the suit. I have brushed the suit completely before going out in fursuits at cons, and not even 15 minutes into suiting, it's all poofed out and scraggly looking again. Second, the comments posted about my past are just there to incite drama. Do not believe any of it. If you have any concern at all, feel free to privately message me on Telegram or DM me here on Twitter. So according to this message, all of the talk around Growley saying that he is a creep are all false. He goes on to berate and call everyone who mentions his criminal records a troll. Once more of this community knew that Growley was attending these public events, they came together to voice their concerns, and Daniel was actually banned from a number of them, which is a bit concerning that he wasn't outright banned from them all. This last entry is up for a bit of speculation and to this day is a bit on the controversial side. So within the furry niche, there's a more specific community called the Wolfkin, which in case you don't know are basically people who believe that they are werewolves. This particular entry is focused on a girl known as Wolfie Blackheart. In the 2010s, Wolfie Blackheart faced allegations claiming that she had taken the life of her dog and then decapitated it. These rumors, along with a photo of the dog, eventually spread onto various sites including 4chan. 4chan users immediately made it their mission to find out where this image came from and if these allegations were true. It didn't take long for the internet to track down Wolfie as the possible culprit. The internet got into contact with the San Antonio police, which is the city where Wolfie lived, and informed them about the crime that she may have committed. Upon investigation, it was realized that Wolfie was obsessed with anything related to canines, specifically werewolves. She even went on to claim that she was allergic to silver, which is known to be the primary weakness against werewolves in folklore. It was also shared that this was not Wolfie's first encounter with law enforcement. Police did get involved in an incident where she brought a knife to school, and then on a different occasion, she was charged for burglary. But before 4chan found their target in Wolfie, they were confronted by one of the members in Wolfie's pack, which consisted of people just like herself who believed that they were descendants of werewolves. So this member was referred to as Razor online and claimed that the dog had actually died as a result of a car accident. Prior to its death, the dog had been taken in as a stray. Then post-death, Wolfie and her friends decapitated it and then boiled the head down to a skull as a sort of ritualistic keepsake. Something else to note is Wolfie actually has a collection of various animal skulls in her room, which she says were all taxidermied by herself. And this was a primary factor that drove people to believing that Wolfie was the main culprit. The actual messages sent by Razor said the following: "Everyone shut up for a sec. Okay, no one killed the effing dog. A truck running through my effing neighborhood ran him over. I tried to save him, but he died on the way to the vet. I'm the dog's caretaker. He was a stray. I took him in. I hate my friends for defiling the body. They beheaded it. Dog died in a car accident. They just messed with the body." Now, you might find this very strange, but if true, there isn't exactly any crime being committed here. However, a woman would surface when this story made its rounds across the US and claimed that the dog was actually hers and was named Rigsby. According to this woman, Rigsby somehow just disappeared one day away and was never seen again. This led to speculation that Rigsby was actually stolen, and with Wolfie's history being known to the public, it wasn't exactly looking good. Nevertheless, it was never confirmed whether the dog was truly a stray or had escaped from its owner. Then again, both can be true, and Wolfie and her friends truly had simply mistaken the dog as a stray. Ultimately, investigators failed to obtain any evidence that proved Wolfie or her friends intentionally ended the life of the dog. As a result, Wolfie did not face any charges in regards to the death of the dog. But to this day, there are many people who believe that law enforcement fumbled the case and let a sick individual get off free.